Hey friends, so we are entering into almost March, and I figured today would be a good time to give y'all a little update on where we are in our homeschool. We have roughly 3 months left of school, and we have made a lot of changes. So let's just get straight into it. Okay, so first of all, if you are new here, hi, my name is Brittany. I am a mom to 4 kids, a 9th grader, a 2nd grader, a kindergartner, and a preschooler. On my channel, I share a lot about just homemaking and homeschooling and stuff like that. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, I hope you'll consider sticking around and subscribing. If you are not new, hi, it's been a minute. So I took a much needed, unexpected hiatus from YouTube. I have so many good things to share. I mean, so many good things. The Lord has been so good and so faithful, and He has done such a tremendous work in my heart through this time that I stepped away. I stepped away from a lot of stuff. He's done a lot. I feel fairly confident that He has almost completely enabled me to overcome my anxiety. I mean, I have some bouts here and there. I'm going to do a whole separate video on that, but I'm off of all of my supplements. I haven't been on medication for years, but no medications, no supplements, just the power of God. And so I have a whole story on all of that. It's been amazing. So it was a good hiatus, but I'm back and I'm ready to dive straight into it. I don't know if you've noticed, changed the channel name because I was, originally the Almost Homesteader. Actually, there was one before that too, but it had it as the Almost Homesteader. And really, I just didn't feel like the homesteading stuff was really where the Lord was leading me. I really felt called to share more on homeschooling and homemaking, especially homemaking through these really busy seasons of motherhood and how that looks, and just kind of my personal experience with it and the wisdom that I'm gleaning from others and from scripture. I want to share all of that on this channel, and so that's where I want to lean into. And so I'm still going to have stuff with my chickens and my garden. I am taking a break a little bit from my garden this year, but I'm still going to have stuff like that on here. It's just going to be more focused on the home. So the new name is Deeply Rooted Home, and it's all about having a home that is deeply rooted in Christ and what He has called us to as homemakers and as mothers and as homeschool moms. And so that's where I really want to lean into and just give glory to God on this channel. Okay, so now on to what you're actually here for. How are we doing on homeschool? It's actually fantastic, but it's different. It's so different than what I thought. I actually probably should have gone back and looked at everything that we were starting out with. So what I had talked about previously that we were doing with my high schooler, we are doing nothing of that. So I completely switched gears with him and switched him actually over to a completely online secular curriculum, which if you would have asked me 2 years ago, Brittany, would you ever put your kids in a secular curriculum? I would have laughed in your face. It just was not something that I ever thought that I would do, but I just felt very pulled into, first of all, I knew that I needed something for him to do that was independent, that could keep me accountable and keep me consistent, because I was really struggling to balance high school level work with having a 2nd grader who was really struggling with his phonics skills and needed a lot of work, and kindergartner who was really wanting to move faster, and I'm going to get there with her stuff. I had to push her forward some because she was so bored. And then a preschooler who is adamant that she's going to do work too. And so I had a hard time balancing it all, and I really needed him to be more independent. And so with my 9th grader, I actually moved him into a CELIS, which is a secular curriculum. And what I'm loving about it, because I am loving it, it is very thorough. He can go at his own pace. Everything I can get access to from my phone. It's not really hard to manage. And actually, we are doing some serious apologetics through it, because I can watch the videos that he's watching on my phone while I'm making lunch. And they're not super long videos that he's having to do. So as they have history and science from a secular point of view, I'm able to have him come to me afterward, after I've watched the video, and then we have this discussion of, okay, so what is the biblical perspective? Why is the creation point of view more consistent? There have been ways that we've seen, like the biology teacher, saying things that are more in line with a creation point of view or just don't make any sense. And we're able to call those out and really point back to the inconsistencies that are found in the secular worldview when it comes to biology. And it's really been a blessing. It does take a little bit of work on my part to be able to watch the videos, but it's a level that I'm okay with doing, whereas trying to manage it all and grade all of his stuff and keep up on all of the labs and everything with his other stuff, it was just overwhelming and it was too much and I was not able to do it. But this is something that I'm able to do. So we are really loving Acellus. He is still doing logic from master books, and I still really like that. He's really just reading through it and discussing it. And then he's still doing essentials in writing, because the writing in Acellus is not up to the standard that I would have it. And then there's no added reading with Acellus, and so I am adding on a lot of extra readers that I feel are important for him to have read in high school, and then just doing verbal narrations over what he's been reading. And it's really been great. So we have every intention to continue on next year in going through Acellus. He really likes it. He says he's learning a lot, and that makes me happy. So, moving on to my second grader. So with his stuff, we have switched over to CLE. I think I mentioned that in the last time. We loving CLE math, and he is doing CLE language arts. That is going fantastic. His phonics has gotten so much better. We are still hitting snags with his spelling, but I think it's just some kids, I'd figured that out with my oldest, that they just get it a little bit later. I'm going to give him some more time, because I was talking to, I think it was my pastor's wife about it. She homeschooled. She was saying that she had spoken to somebody that said 3rd grade for a lot of kids is when things really click with spelling. So to not worry too much about it until they get into 3rd grade. So if after 3rd grade he's still struggling, then we'll kind of figure out maybe something else to add on. But I don't want to stress him out too much, and I really think that it's just going to click, because my oldest was the same way. Spelling was really hard for him, and then we just started continuing with narration, and I would correct him. He would do written narrations. He would, I would turn off the autocorrect on his computer and have him try to figure out how to spell it, and then he would send it to me, and I would print out all of the mistakes so he could see that. And eventually it just clicked at some point, and so I'm hoping it's kind of how it is with him as well. I did order CLE reading as well. He's doing the full reading program. I have decided I like CLE reading, and I think I like it for the first. I'm not sure, I didn't do it for 1st grade, and I like it for the 2nd grade because there's so much phonics. I feel like it undergirds a lot of what's being taught in language arts. So I do think that it's a good program, but it's a lot of work. And I think and the stories are kind of boring. And I think once we get past 2nd grade, it's just not going to hold his interest. And I really, really believe in cultivating that love of reading in children. And so it's more important to me that he has a positive experience with reading. I really want him to do this reading program because I want him to have the foundations, the phonics foundations at this stage, so that as he's moving on in his educational career, he can continue to just build upon that. But once we get those phonics rules down, I want to move into something very quickly that he will hold his interest, that speaks to his personality, and that he just has fun reading. Next year, we are going to definitely move into something that is a little bit more interesting for him. So I'm gonna go ahead and move on to my kindergartner because I have them lumped together for science and history, so I'll hit that at the end. My kindergartner is doing actually a lot of 1st grade stuff. So we had CLE kindergarten, and I love CLE kindergarten. She was doing kindergarten too. But the only problem is that she is so smart and just gets it. And she has been doing worksheets since she was 3, not because I forced her to, but because she wanted to. And she would cry if I didn't give her a worksheet. And so she already knew all of this stuff. We'd already been working on all of her letters and letter recognition, and she was already going into the program knowing how to blend like CVC words. And so she was so bored with kindergarten, and she was wanting to learn to read. And so I thought that I would just pull a different reading book off of the shelf, but my husband suggested maybe we just go ahead and get the Learning to Read program, because we knew we were going to try it with her anyway next year when she hit 1st grade, like it's recommended. But she's an older kindergartner. She turned 6 at the end of September. And so he was like, maybe we should just try it. And if it doesn't work, we can put it back on the shelf and pull it out next year, but it can't hurt to try it. And so we did after Christmas, and she has not hit a single snag at all, which is amazing to me, because my 2nd grader, I do remember going through the CLE Learning to Read program, and it felt like a lot. And so I'd already had this plan on I was going to stretch it out over a year and a half, because it was a lot of work, but we've not had to slow down at all. Now she is almost to light unit 105, and I know at 105 it starts to pick up. So we may have to slow down going forward. I'm not sure. But at this stage, she gets it done like nothing. It's 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the early afternoon, and she's completely done with it and not really complaining too much. She doesn't mind the small flashcards, like the word flashcards, but the larger phrase flashcards she finds kind of boring. And she's like, are we done with these yet? Which I understand, but it does seem to really be helping her. So I'm like, let's push through just a couple more. She's doing very well with that though. And then she is doing 1st grade math as well, because the kindergarten didn't have any math. And so I was printing off worksheets for her that had math problems on it. She was doing a page of 15 addition problems, plus like matching and patterns and stuff like that, because I was just trying to give her something to do, because she wanted more math and she asked for more math. So we went ahead and ordered the 1st grade math, and same thing is that we were going to just try it and see if she was ready for it, and she just took off. And so far she is doing really well. She just completed her 1st light unit yesterday, and so she started 102 today. Let me get them so I can show you. In case you aren't familiar with how CLE works, they have these little light units, and so there are 10 light units. So this is the Learning to Read. This is what she has been doing, and so she is currently at 104. But once you finish 104, you move on, obviously, to 105. Once you get to 105, the language arts starts. So we went ahead and got her the language arts, because if she's going to do the Learning to Read, she should do the language arts as well. And so we have those for her. That might be when we slow down. But the math, so she just finished, this is 102, so she just started this today. She's doing well with it. There are 10 math light units as well. And I really prefer how these are set up. I love the little booklets. It makes it so much easier whenever we are like going to our homeschool group, and if my 2nd grader still has some more work to do, I can put on a clipboard and he can just do it in the car, and it's just so much easier. So for history, we have been doing Mystery of History. Okay, so I like Mystery of History. I don't feel like it's enough as far as world history. There are so many good biblical accounts in there, and there is world history mixed into it. Hi. Oh, teenagers. Now I've lost my train of thought. So the biblical accounts and the other history that they have within Mystery of History are really, really, really good. And I love the beautiful pictures that they've incorporated into the newer editions. However, I just don't feel like there's enough history of other areas in the world. And I didn't notice this until we started doing some extra memory work. So I tried to do memory work with my littler kids up through like the end of up through about the end of elementary school. One of the things that I decided to incorporate was the timeline song from Classical Conversations. And so we've been working through the timeline song, and I realized how much we don't remember, and I mean, I don't remember, as we've been reading through Mystery of History, talking about any of these things. And if we did talk about them, it was just so brief that nothing stuck. And so I decided to pull out Story of the World. And what I am doing is I am actually building a hybrid. So I am using Mystery of History as the spine. As of now, I haven't cut any of the lessons out, but we are also reading through Story of the World if there is something that I feel like Story of the World covers more in depth that Mystery of History doesn't really catch. So that way we're getting both. And what's beautiful about it is that Mystery of History and Story of the World are both so short that really our history lesson, even if I read both of them in the same day, is still only taking us like 20 minutes. And then I'm also including like a 5-minute video to go with it. So we spend about 25 minutes on history, and so it doesn't feel like it's overwhelming, but that gives us a fully well-rounded view. And they're both written in a way that is so engaging that it's actually it works beautifully together. I've always said that I wish that Story of the World or Mystery of History had an in-between somewhere. And so I'm like, well, maybe I should just blend them together. As for science, so I said before that Apologia Science was not too advanced for my kids, the one we chose, but in some ways it ended up being, and at the same time, it was a lot. And what I've learned with my kids is that we get bored going through the same thing all year. And so we've kind of just moved on to doing kind of YouTube videos for a lot of our science and just reading a couple of books. If they have something that they're curious on, we'll go get a book from the library, and that's pretty much what we've been doing. Next year, I have plans for doing something else. I have about 80% of my curriculum for next year already. And so as soon as I get the last of my curriculum in for next year, I will do a full video on everything. But I think that covers pretty much all of our core curriculum on what we've been doing. The only thing I wish we could do more of that I feel like we're not doing enough of is read alouds. I am really struggling to fit read alouds in and still do all of the different things that we're needing to get done in a day and keep my house from being a complete disaster. And so I'm trying to figure out how to balance all of it, but we'll get there. I'm sure we'll get there eventually. So that is going to be it for my update with our homeschool curriculum. If there's anything that you're interested in seeing more of, if you want to flip through of anything, make sure to leave it in the comments and I will happily go through all of this. So far, I am really just loving everything that we've landed on. And I'm just really happy with how things have turned out, even if it wasn't what I originally planned. I feel like I should have listened to my gut a lot last year when I was planning out homeschool stuff, but I kind of got swept up in what I wanted. I feel like I do that fairly often. I have this ideal of what I want homeschool to be, instead of realizing that homeschool needs to fit you and your family and not your ideal. So if you like this video, I hope you will consider sticking around and subscribing. I would love to have you join me in my teeny tiny little community. If you're not following me on Instagram, I'll go ahead and drop my handle down here. And until next time, bye.